7:20, and I'm back with another video. Um, actually, right now I'm talking to my man Phantom Killer. We're just shooting the breeze, talking about these next generation consoles like we do every night. Earlier today, I beat RXL to a bloody pulp. I'm gonna edit that because the whole video didn't come up, and I may put it back up tomorrow. Some of you guys already saw it, but this guy been hounding me down for weeks. I need to debate him, and like I said, I destroyed his ass. You might not see RXL for a couple weeks, man. You might go back in that troll tunnel. But anyway, it's an interesting article on IGN. Now, this developer, I read the first article this guy wrote, Yoda's Boy. He basically had the PlayStation 4 wiping the Xbox One in the graphical department. But now that Microsoft never came out and gave their whole specs. They said some things, and Digital finally took that and run, but they never said what GPU were doing, and no one never took in the fact that they also have 32 megabytes of ESRAM. But check this shit out. And also, they thought that Microsoft, they both were 8 cores, but they thought that Microsoft was only using 6 cores for gaming. They were only using 6 cores for gaming. 2 of those cores went back to the OS, and they thought that Sony was using 8 cores for gaming. But I'm gonna read a little bit of this article. I'm gonna skip all around. But basically, it says the Xbox One versus the PlayStation 4 graphics showdown, the rematch. He said in a post I wrote a while back comparing the graphical capabilities of these next generation systems. It said, and Smart argued that while the PlayStation 4 had an edge on paper, it wouldn't necessarily make a significant difference in actual games and visuals. So on paper it had a bigger advantage, but when it all comes down to real world performance, we take always say shit like that when it comes to real world performance, which is true. It said new info has come to light, and I'm no longer convinced that the PlayStation 4 is the more powerful console of the two. Contrary, the playing field is much more level than previous thought, and the Xbox One may even have a slight edge over Sony's machine. I know you Sony porn, but check it out, I'm not done. The number of CPU cores dedicated to gaming. While we know for some time that both consoles are used in sporting the 8-core AMD CPU, and a turbo reveal was made on the Xbox front that only 6 cores were allocated for gaming, with 2 cores reserved at all times for the OS. This essentially reduced the CPU's power of the one to 75% that used in the PlayStation 4 where games are concerned, right? Sure, the PlayStation 4 uses all 8 cores for games. That's what they all thought. But it says here, however, it turns out the PlayStation 4 also only allocates 6 of its cores for gaming, and 2 of their cores are dedicated to the OS. But, check it out. But to no advantage here, they both were using 6 cores for gaming, 2 cores for the OS. It says item 2, memory allocated to the OS. The collective internets have been under impression for some time that the once oppressive OS configuration really gobbled up 3 gigabytes of the 8 gigabytes for RAM, 3 for the OS, and 5 for gaming. And it says here, like I know I didn't make this shit up, that Sony meanwhile allocated 1 gigabyte for their OS and 7. Said developers had a whopping 7 gigabytes for gaming. More things have come out, except for one thing: the OS in the PS4 is easily just as burdensome and perhaps more so than the Xbox One, supported in the Xbox. Apparently, there are only 4.5 gigabytes accessible for developers for gaming. You know what I mean? And all the dev kits are only 4.5 gigabytes. You know what I mean? So the OS that's in the PlayStation 4 is burdensome even more so than the Xbox One. You know what I mean? So PS4 dev kits all run at a default 4.5 gigabytes, giving the PlayStation 4 developers have about 5 gigabytes for games such as the Xbox, between 5 and 5.5 for games for the PlayStation 4. He says, now check this shit out. It said commentators not caught up in the anti-Xbox mob mentality. Blackbuster credit. Like I said again, commentators not caught up in this anti-Xbox mob mentality have already noted that the DDR3 RAM in the Xbox One is actually faster than GDDR5 family in the PlayStation 4 under certain circumstances. However, there's other shits to take into consideration. Debate. But the super fast embedded memory on the one's GPU, of which the PlayStation 4 doesn't have any. It complements the slower DDR3 RAM inside the Xbox One. It speeds everything up by 88%. No one took that into when they did the first numbers for the Xbox One, and they had teraflops up here and 1.22, 23 teraflops for the Xbox One. No one took in fact of the 32 gigabytes of eSRAM. Check this shit out. Now comparing the two systems' memory, at first it was 176 gigabytes for the PlayStation 4 compared to 68 gigabytes for the Xbox One. Has never been honest apples to apples comparison since everyone ignored the DDR3 plus the eSRAM. Like he said here again, I didn't even get that part. He said it here. Now comparing that, adding eSRAM, what they know now, it's 192 gigabytes plus the eSRAM plus the 68 equals a total of 260 gigabytes overall. All right. If we were to go to these numbers, and I'm not gonna read all this shit, but basically he's saying in some instance the Xbox One is going to outperform the PlayStation 4. And another recent tidbit from Microsoft accounts that the Xbox One GPU has been bumped up by 7%. Boost over the PS4 GPU. What may help compensate for the one's chip sporting less, whatever the fuck. We know the CPUs are identical, but the one's GPU is faster, supposedly, and the RAM is comparison much more even in previous stores. So the Xbox One supposed to have a faster GPU than the PlayStation 4. Now, with all that being said, all that, look at it, like I said the other day, the Xbox One have games that are 1080p, 60 frames per second, first-party games, and the PlayStation 4, as far as we know, doesn't have any. See, a lot of you fanboys get caught up in the hype. It's not even about graphics or what system is the strongest, but I read some of you guys' comments that you leave on my page and saying, I'm not going to pay $500 for the Xbox and it's weaker than the PlayStation 4. Well, look what Microsoft is giving you for $500. You get the system, you get that new fancy smancy controller. I can't wait to put my hands on that controller. You know what I mean? You get, a 4K HDMI wire, and the Kinect. And now fuck the motion controller. I just like the shit that the Kinect can do. The fact that if I'm playing a fighter and it remember all my buttons the way I like it configured. I don't have to go back and fix my buttons and all that. I like shit like that, you know what I mean? Or if I'm playing a fighting game or a basketball game online, it would go there automatically and pick up my favorite fighter or my favorite team. See, shit like that, that's what I'm looking forward to, you know what I mean? But in the day, I will leave the link there. You guys can read the whole thing, tip it from top to bottom. Oh, no, hell no. No. Read this shit and shit it fuck up. So as I always say, man, bang, bang. Damn, dog. That PS4 looking kind of anemic.